Hey guys, this is Chris and the host of No Holding Back. Today we'll be discussing the MLS is Back tournament. So this is a tournament that was created to take place in Orlando, where the whole league will be taking place in a tournament and facing off against each other in groups. So from groups A to F, and the way that the groups are divided in are basically from east to west. So you will have three east groups and three west groups. Group A is the one that consists of the most teams, obviously because the league is not equal in amount of teams that are present in the league. So there was three rules that were applied to this tournament. So instead of three substitutions, which usually occur in regular soccer games, or as you may call it, football games, you're allowed five subs. You're allowed 23 players on your roster heading towards Orlando for this tournament. And yes, video review will be included in this process. So today I have my friend Jason here with me, and we'll be discussing our predictions by creating a bracket starting from the group stages all the way to round of 16 to the quarterfinals, the semifinals, and obviously the finals where we're going to be predicting our winner for this tournament and the most valuable player in this tournament. And if you hear any background music, I am very sorry about that. It's just that it's windy outside, and I wanted to take my podcast outside today on this very gorgeous day in Montreal. So excuse me for that. So Jason, the floor is all yours, man.
Hey, it's Jason, Chris's friend, and yeah, I'm excited to be here.
So just before we get into the MLS's back tournament for the season, how are you feeling about this MLS's back tournament? Do you think this is the right approach that should have been taken due to the coronavirus shortening the season?
100%. There's no other way of doing it. You can't have a 32 game season. There's no time and space for that, especially with no fans. So you shorten it up. Now it's a month. I think it's from July to August.
Yeah, so it's from July 8th to, if I'm not mistaken, August 15 or something like that.
Yeah, so exactly. So since it's shorter, it's 1 month. Honestly, it's just a good way of coming back to the league and actually doing something this year and crowning a winner. Because, like I said, this season's already been written off from the owners. Like, if they don't win this tournament, it's no people are going to lose jobs. It's going to be the way it is. But if you win, you get $1.1 million. So I guess you could reinvest that into your team, or whoever wins could profit that money and add it to what they lost.
And obviously, as local boys from Montreal, we're rooting for the Montreal Impact. So, be any bias in this bracket that we both created, we might disagree on what we initially agreed upon because things have changed. Obviously, we forgot about that have left the team during this off season. Also, players that were um, the so-called Corona lockout. So we're going to be starting with Group A. So in Group A, we have Chicago Fire, Orlando City, Philadelphia Union, Inter Milan, New York FC, and Nashville SC. So for Group A, this is a team that consists of all Eastern teams. So in for the first position, we have Chicago Fire with a record of 3-0-0. Orlando City 3-0-0. Philadelphia Union 2-0-1. Inter Miami 1. New York City FC 0-3-0, and Nashville SC 0-3-0. And the reason why Chicago Fire is ahead of Orlando City is because we both predicted that Chicago Fire will have more goals than Orlando City, and New York City FC has more goals than Nashville, obviously, but it doesn't really matter at this point because they're still.
So you just seeded it of who's the top to bottom right now?
Yeah. So basically, me and some other friends that are fans of the MLS both came up with these predictions for the standings of the group stage. Uh,
Yeah.
and the reason why, like some teams like Orlando City and Philadelphia Union, even though they're average teams, you got to consider that Inter Milan, New York City FC, Nashville SC are all three expansion teams that really haven't done anything the last couple of years. And Nashville SC and Inter Miami, being the two newest expansion teams, are not going to fare well in this tournament against more competitive, better caliber players, obviously more established MLS players and players in general in the football world. And obviously you have um, what's it called again? New York City FC that has never been the same since David Villa and Pirlo left the team. And they also had Frank Lampard as well, and he didn't really do that well due to injuries, and can't really blame him.
Yeah,
He was
exactly.
old.
But so out of Group A, you have how many teams coming out? There's only three. There's only two coming out.
Well,
from there,
yeah, it's gonna
right?
be three because Philadelphia is in my
Okay, so what's your three? What's your three coming
yeah.
out?
So it's gonna be Chicago Fire, Orlando City, Philadelphia Union. The reason why Philadelphia Union and Orlando City are so up there is because I predict them basically demolishing teams like Inter Miami, New York City FC, and Nashville FC. And the reason why Philadelphia Union is the exception of making it out as the third place team because four out of the six groups that are placed at third place with the best record continue to the round of 16. So
That goes for every group though. Doesn't just go for Group A.
well, yeah. I mean, once the groups are all finished playing their games, that everything is established, then they're going to look at the three place seeded teams.
Yeah.
And
So it's gonna
they
go by record.
record. And if the records are tied, they're obviously they're going to go by goals and so on.
Yeah. So there's a possibility of each team going on the West bracket of round of 16.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So for me, out of Group A, I have Miami and New York getting out of there, and then possibly Philadelphia, but I'm gonna go with Miami and New York because Miami has the money and they have decent players off the bat, and I think New York, they're the same thing. They have a team that's competitive, and yeah, Philadelphia is right behind them. I completely rule out Chicago, Nashville. Nashville is a completely brand new team. They have no chemistry, and Orlando is a toss-up. They have good games, and then they have really bad games. So I can't really predict where they're going to go. Like I said, in this tournament, once you get momentum, that's the team that's going to win.
And then again, going back to the predictions, this is not based on the performances of the teams before the coronavirus. This is based on like how we view the teams as a whole, from past experiences, from the transfer window, obviously, from the players that they acquired and the players that they lost as well. But we never know. There's also we could be obviously this is just a prediction bracket, so we could always be wrong with that too. So yeah. So moving to Group B now. So in this group, it's a Western group. So that consists of Seattle Sounders, FC Dallas, San Jose Earthquakes, and the Vancouver Whitecaps. So the first place team in that group would be the Seattle Sounders, going with a record of 2-0-1. FC Dallas tying their record with 2-0-1, but Seattle trumping them due to having more goals. San Jose Earthquakes with an 0-2-1 record, and last place team Vancouver Whitecaps with an 0-2-1 record, but San Jose Earthquakes would have more goals, and that's because I think Wolendowski, even though he's 37 years old, he's still one of the key players on that San Jose team, and even though he might be past his prime, I still feel that he could put up more goals than any other player on the Vancouver Whitecaps.
Yeah, that's a good prediction. But for me, I take Seattle and Vancouver. Seattle, obviously, they're a well-rounded team. They have Morris on striker, and they have Lodero in the midfield, so they're set there. And then Vancouver, I'm going to take Vancouver because he just got a new striker, Cavallini. I think he has to prove himself, even with the 0-2 record. I think he's going to have to prove himself, so I think there's a drive there, so I think those.
But the thing with Cavallini is that, like, I know it was too early to predict already because it was just 3 games in the season, but he was very disappointing. He didn't really show up to games. I mean, show.
But that's the MLS. That's the MLS for you. It takes time to get into groove. You're not a Zlatan who comes in and scores right away. You're not a Drogba who gets a hat trick. So for him to be an established player in the league, he needs time. He has to adapt to the situation.
And then again, if they still had Davies on their lineup, which was sold to Bayern Munich eventually.
Davies is world class talent now.
Like
he wouldn't have been here even if they.
I would have never thought that a Canadian player would have made such an impact on like a team like Bayern Munich. Usually, like Canadian or American players, once they leave to Europe, they become just substitutions. They're not really core players. And Davies is just defining all expectations. I know that has nothing to do with the tournament, but I just wanted to point that out there because he is a local Canadian boy. So I just wanted to give him a shout out. And once again, I know it's fucking windy outside. This guy is literally cutting his fucking grass outside. I know maybe I should have chosen a better time for the podcast. But you know what? Fuck that guy. He has a fucking job to do, and I have a fucking job to do too, and that's getting the fucking predictions to you guys. And
anyways, yeah, fuck that grass, guys. Fuck them. Let's go to group. We're gonna go group C.
Yeah,
now?
So we're going to group C now. Yeah. And so this is the group C where our beloved Montreal Impact is playing against Toronto FC, DC United, New England Revolution. So for this bracket, it's a very tough bracket. Montreal has lost their key player in Nacho Piatti, but has acquired Wanayama, which is a very defensive liability. And this fucking grass guy keeps following me wherever I go because I think he's a fucking dickhead. Sorry about that. Yeah. So, remind me next time never to take my podcast outside again, especially on windy days like this. But going back to it, Toronto FC, I have them in first place at a 2-0-1 record. Montreal Impact following behind them at number 2 with a 1-0-2. DC United with a 1-2-0 record, which will eventually move out onto the round of 16 because they would have a good enough record to continue on. And New England Revolution falling behind with a 0-3-0 record. Reason why I have DC United at third, not beating the Impact, they lost Wayne Rooney, which is a key player. He was very pivotal in his as his role with the DC United. Problem is that there was a lot of controversies. Probably wanted to get the fuck out. Got in trouble a couple of times. Didn't really establish a good name for himself in DC United. But on the pitch, man, he was an unstoppable force. He propelled this team to barely make the playoffs 2 years in a row, where they started off really crummy and fucking horrible, and then towards the end, he just propelled them and basically carried them up. It's sad that he couldn't stay there longer because the MLS needs superstar caliber players like that. But and the Montreal Impact is just a better rounded team. They're more defensive, which could be a problem in this tournament because you can't really base yourself on fucking just getting ties all the time. You literally need your top dogs to score goals. And I know Maximo Ruti, which did poorly last season, is really stepping up to the plate this season.
I wouldn't say stepping up to the plate yet. 2 of his goals were like tip-ins, but he's obviously been.
I mean, a goal is a goal, man. You take whatever. You have to be there at the right place at the right time.
Yeah, exactly. But that's the 2 teams. That's Montreal and Toronto.
Yeah, and then you have DC United at the third place position, which is gonna qualify because, like I said,
they'll have a better record.
That they have a better record as a third place team compared to some of the other third places.
So basically, if there's like in Group A, it has 6 teams. So there's a possibility that there's possibility out of all the groups that a third place team comes out, right?
Yeah. So it's the best 4 out of 6 third place teams that continue on.
Okay, so there's a possibility of like a DC United or a Montreal Impact. They finish third in the group. They have a better record than someone who finishes third in Group A, which has 6 teams,
Yeah.
and they get to go to the round of 16.
Yeah, exactly. Like, let's say there's a chance that they have like 4 or 5 points and they're third place team. I highly doubt that
But
other
they're not
teams
going
are
off
gonna
the
have.
season record. They're going off the record you have in the group stage, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, yeah.
The
So
regular season does not count for anything in this tournament.
So
Not even for the seedings.
okay, for me, I have first they have decent defending with good chemistry. They just got this new guy Piatti, who's Argentinian. They got what's his name? They have
Altidore,
one of the best players in the league, and they're well on the team. I think they're going to go far in this tournament. In second place, I have the Impact. Impact probably tying with the same amount of points as DC United. DC United just got the guy Flores from South America. He's a Peruvian guy. He's a good player. He's their new player after what's his name left. They got Gressel in the midfield from Atlanta, and they have Higuain. Higuain moved there, and they also have Ola Kamara, who used to play for LA. He plays for Columbus. He will score you goals. So yeah, personally, me, I think DC will be the third team out of one of the teams, or it could be Montreal Impact, or then they'll be tied on points. Goal differential. I see them being one of the third place teams that go on record.
and going back with DC United, like, yeah, they do have Higuain, but this is a very aged and slow Higuain. And I mean, I know he was never the fastest player.
He's not a fast player, but he's a person who will bring the ball into the box. He's like a Piatti, a natural Piatti for the Impact.
But the thing is that he does have age. If I'm not mistaken, he is 35 or 36 years
but
old.
He's still a threat to the MLS. If he has skill, there's a possibility of anything. And they have Flores. They just got him. He's a good player. He's fast and he can put the ball behind the net. And they have Camaro. So you can't rule DC out. Yes, they lost Rooney. Yes, they lost Oscar. But at the end of the day, they're still a threat. They were playing.
But like, just as a team, completely, like, compared to like the Impact or Toronto, I just feel like they're not evenly. Like,
no, they don't have depth. They don't have depth like us because the Impact has depth in the midfield and up front. Up front, you don't have the quality that they have. But with 5 subs in a tournament like this, when you bring on someone like Lassie, hopefully he comes back.
Nah, I think everyone that was injured before that is gonna.
No, but he's not back. Bologna right now. I think, if I'm not mistaken, you have to redo a loan spell with him because it's soccer. It doesn't go by season. It goes by. So if the time ends up, whatever happens, you have to redo it. It's not like in hockey where it goes by seasons. It goes by time in soccer. So I think if they bring last year with 5 subs, Montreal have a lot of players who come off the bench and do an impact. Obviously not Jackson Amell. He's a bum, so we rule him out right away.
But then again, they are missing a striker. Which is fucking important in this tournament.
We have versatile players, like someone like Boyan. Hopefully, this guy could do something. He hasn't done much, but he hasn't had much time to develop. He hasn't had a full season yet. Not develop, I would say more. Get into the league. Groove, like remember Alejandro Silva, who this guy took 6-7 games to get into the groove, and then we sold him. But whatever. But yeah, so I think those 3 teams: Montreal, Toronto, and DC.
And also going back to the Kamara part, I think the Impact have had a fucking horrible past against Kamara. He's literally the Impact killer.
It's not Kai Kamara. It's Ola Kamara.
I didn't see his first name. I just said Kamara.
Yeah, but both Kamaras do a dent to the Impact. They make Drury sweat.
Yeah, it's the older one, basically, the one that always goes from team to team because apparently it's a bad attitude.
It's not the one, the African one. It's the I think
it's not that one.
No, it's Ola Kamara. He played in LA.
It's the younger one.
He's the Norwegian one. He's 30 years old. He's still young. Yeah.
Oh, my bad.
No, like if anything, he's better than the other Kamara. So. Yeah, so that's what I have coming out of that group. So we're going to do Group D now on the West?
Yeah, Group D. So we just finished with another Eastern team. Now we're going back to the West. So now we have Real Salt Lake, Colorado Rapids, Minnesota United, Sporting Kansas City. So and in that group, Sporting Kansas City is by far the more superior team. So I'm putting them at 3-0-0. Real Salt Lake 2-1-0. Colorado Rapids 0-2-1, and Minnesota United 0-2-1. Colorado finishes above Minnesota United because of a surplus of more goals. The reason why I put Minnesota so low is that even though the record was 2-0-0 before the cancellation of the regular season, was because I still do not have a lot of faith in them. I've seen them all the other years, and they really never proved anything. And 2 games is so little of amount of games played to even establish like how much of a team has like adapted to the league and how more superior that they are to the other teams. And Colorado Rapids, I don't really like see them as a threat compared to Real Salt Lake and Sporting Kansas City. Sporting Kansas City is a contending team. They have a very good team. Real Salt Lake is just like I would say that they're a little bit up there in age now. They're not as competitive as they used to be, but they're good enough to surpass Colorado Rapids and Minnesota United. So, do you agree with that list?
No, not really. I would have obviously Sporting Kansas number one. They're a well-rounded team. I don't know much about the team, but they always somehow do good, so I'm going to put them number one. Number two, I'll put Minnesota, because in the last 2 years, Minnesota's been in the league. They've slowly progressed better and better. I don't think the record shows that, but they have people like Ike Opara. They just got this new Amarilla guy. They have Alonso in the midfield, so I think they could do better than people think they do. And then I have RSL dead last. Who cares about that team? And then I have Colorado. Colorado's just I don't know. They get a good player, he goes away. Get a good player, he goes away. So I don't know. They have Kamara, but at the end of the day, I don't think they have enough.
But Kamara is a threat.
He is a threat, but
Even though he gets older and he may have like problems within like the organization of teams that he always leaves. That's why he's not a guy who really stays put. He's a guy who moves around a lot. But he's still a threat, even though his age is up there. I think he's 34 now, if I'm not mistaken.
34, 35. It doesn't matter. But honestly, for him in Colorado, I don't think they have enough. So, like I said, they're going to be dead last. So I have Colorado last, Minnesota, and then I have Sporting Kansas City number one, and RSL either dead last or Colorado just above them. But that's not an exciting group. There's not many.
Nah, not really. No one really cares about these teams. I mean, if you are fans of these teams, I apologize.
No, if you're a fan of the team, it's good. But like if, from an outsider looking in, no, it's not interesting to me. Every other.
There's no like they're all like MLS like caliber players. You know what I mean? There's no one that really like stands out.
Well, they have one of the best defensemen in Minnesota with Ike Opara. But anyways, yeah. So that group is it's not the best.
Okay, Group E. It's an Eastern group. So this is the last Eastern group. This is probably the toughest group in the East, apart from Group C, which is a little bit close to Group E when it comes to the caliber of players on the teams. But I just feel like this group is literally like 3 teams that are like very, very like dangerous, and there's one team that's obviously shit. But so in Group E, so we have Atlanta United as the top seed, 3-0. Second place following New York Red Bulls, 2-1-0. Columbus Crew, 1-2-0, and FC Cincinnati, 0-3-0.
Okay. So who do you have? So you have Atlanta first, New York, and Columbus and Cincinnati.
Yeah.
So me, I'm thinking obviously you're gonna put Atlanta up front. I'm not sure if Martinez will be back, but even if that, they're still a deep team. They've lost a couple players in Almiron last season, mid-season, and they lost Gressel in the midfield. But honestly, they're still the best team, one of the best teams in the East. So I'll have them first. Then I have New York. Then I have Columbus, and I'll think Columbus will be coming out like I have for Group C with the 3 teams coming out. And Cincinnati dead last. They haven't proven anything. They have some good players, but not enough to Not
Just
enough
not
for me to
there
give
yet.
them the
They're not
pass. So,
established.
like I said, Atlanta, New York, Columbus, and that'll be one of the groups that have 3 coming out because of the record and goal differential. So yeah.
Perfect. Then again, we have to consider that New York Red Bulls have lost their striker in Wright Phillips.
Yeah, but
He went to LA Galaxy.
he wasn't playing much last season. He was a guy who they wanted to sub on, but he didn't really fit in the team last season. I would watch some of the playoff games, and I watched the games. They would kind of honestly force him onto the field and hopefully have to score, but he didn't fit, and that's why he moved to LA. So yeah,
So this is the last group before we
this is
get
the
to the
best
round
group.
of 16. This is my favorite group with the most exciting players involved in 3 out of the 4
This is
teams.
so rigged. But honestly, wait,
Uh,
before you go along, the MLS, the way I had a live stream yesterday, it is so easy to rig. They had a representative for each team. Once they got into a group, it picked out of a red ball, and they just picked a number. It's so easy. There's some every group has a rival. It's so fixed, but yeah, I don't know. The MLS didn't want boring matchups, so that's why I think they fixed this.
I think they did it like on purpose because to make it more exciting.
They said it's
If
all
you don't,
random. They said it's all random. So for them to us,
it was so sketchy, for like an MLS that's trying to like establish themselves as like one of the best leagues in
we
in
can't
the
look that
world.
professional on like a Zoom call anyway. You can't do something really professional through video chat. So it looked kind of cheesy. Don't get me wrong, but the way they set it up to pick the balls and the numbers, it's very, very, very easy to rig. At the end of the day, who cares if they rig this? It's a tournament. The season's been written off already, so this is just a bonus for us.
As a Montreal Impact fan, I'm just glad that our group is not like
They didn't make it too hard, but there's
impossible.
Good
Yeah, there's good teams, but it's not impossible. I still think that despite facing Toronto FC in like a weaker DC United, I still feel like Montreal Impact is still fared well. Imagine being in a Group E against Atlanta United and New York Red Bulls. I think we would get fucking demolished. And
like I said, once you get in these tournaments, it's all about momentum. Whoever gets the momentum the quickest, I think they have the advantage throughout the whole tournament. There's no home advantage. Too. The MLS is really built on those teams like Portland and all these teams. It's their fans that drive the energy. There's none of that. You're going to be hearing when you're watching the TV. You're going to be hearing the people yelling on the field. It's going to feel like you're at a men's league game. So that once you get momentum and chemistry, that's what's going to drive the team to win.
So moving to Group F, like we said, the hardest group, the best group, pinned against each other.
Teams coming out of this group.
Yeah, me too. So do I. I have Los Angeles FC with a 3-0 record. They're just the best team in the league. They have Diego Rossi, which is an unstoppable force, and I think they're really gonna demolish everybody.
I know they're talking about Carlos Vela.
Yeah, but I just feel in this tournament, Diego Rossi is just gonna fare better.
Vela is licking his lips when he comes up with the Impact. In the final, he's gonna be like, "Who are these French fucks?"
They're the best dynamic duo. I just feel Diego Rossi.
Yeah, for sure. They have more than Diego Rossi.
Is a pivotal player,
and they also have Wright Phillips off the bench too. So
wait, doesn't Wright Phillips play Galaxy?
No, he plays for LA FC.
Oh wow!
He's a little bit washed up, but in a tournament like this, he doesn't have much in the tank left, so he might just put it out here,
It's good to win a trophy and then fuck off and then just say, you know what?
Honestly,
guys.
In this kind of tournament, personally, I don't think. Let's say there's coaches who have a year left. There's this and that players. If you don't do much this year, I think this season is just going to skip over to next because this season, if you don't win at all, then it's whatever. But there's teams like the Impact and smaller teams who need that money at the end, and like the recognition of winning would be good for them. But at the end of the day, it's hardly doubt they're going to win. But yeah, let's continue on with that.
Okay, perfect. So Los Angeles FC with a 3-0 record. LA Galaxy going 1-1-1. That means it would be tied with the Portland Timbers with the same record. And Galaxy, I just think they would be able to score more goals. That's why I have them at number 2. And Houston Dynamo, those guys are literally getting ass raped. I feel so sorry for those guys. They're literally against 3 of the best teams, not only in the West but in the whole league. And Houston Dynamo fans, I feel so sorry. I wouldn't even watch this tournament if I were you guys. It's just a pure, like, fucking disaster for you guys. You guys are like going in there with high hopes and stuff, you know. And if you guys really just like fucking finish 1 or 2 like in this fucking group, I congratulate you guys. I honestly think you
like I
guys
said,
deserve
there's a
the fucking
possibility
trophy.
a team like that does go through because of momentum and lucky goals. You're playing a group stage, so if you win one game, then a team like LA somehow tie and lose a game, and you're playing them in the last game. Whoever wins almost goes through. And then at the end of the day, it could be a lucky goal. But for me, I'll have LAFC number 1. Number 2, I have Portland, and then 3, I have LA, very close to Portland, but they'll be the third team coming out of the group.
Well, they did lose Zlatan, which could
No,
have been
but
so fucking
every
helpful
time
for them.
LA gets a player, they need to replace a player. It's hard to replace Zlatan. Don't get me wrong, but they got that Argentinian guy in Pavon, and I think he's a decent player that can put the ball behind the net.
But even
But they also lost Katai. He's a decent winger / midfielder who can move the ball, but something happened with his wife and racism online, so they cut ties with him. So yeah,
that's a
happened
pretty big loss for them,
last
to
2
be
weeks.
honest.
What?
I mean, it's a pretty big loss. Do I think that they should have punished him in that way? No.
Well,
The wife
it's
should have been punished.
such a
And
heavy topic. You can't take any risk. He said something, you don't want it to damage your brand. So at the end of the day, you just got to cut ties with him. And I don't think there was a strong connection there in the beginning because he left Chicago, went to LA, and I don't think hasn't spent much time there. So I think they just got rid of him as soon as possible. He's an old player too, so yeah.
And going back to the Galaxy, like even though Zlatan basically the best in the league, I would say when it comes to like the best branded name available in the MLS. But obviously you have Carlos Vela and you have Diego Rossi established. You have Martinez from Atlanta United as well that were basically making their names in the MLS. So you got MLS caliber superstars, but Zlatan overall was the most accomplished superstar in that league.
But also you got to remember,
And
we're forgetting they just got Chicharito, so Hernandez.
yeah, Chicharito, of course. How can I forget
Him
that?
and Pavon up front is it's a good dynamic to have there.
They used to call him the superstar sub with Manchester United because, like, literally, like every time he would get on, he'd always create something. He'd always do something to help the team
he was that guy in Europe who, before he went to Germany, he was the guy who brought on Real Madrid, United. Then he went to Germany. He did good, and then he got another contract, but didn't work out in Europe for too long, and he came to the MLS and tried to prove himself.
Well, I mean, he was also in Mexico too, right?
I'm not sure, but I don't know if it was recent. Was he recently in Mexico? He might have.
I think that's where he came from because there was rumors for the last 3 years that he was supposed to go
pretty
to
sure
the
he came from Mexico, but like
MLS.
in recent years, his best seasons have been in Germany in the Bundesliga. He was playing. Let me check. I'm actually curious where he was before LA. Before LA, he was in Sevilla. He was in the Spanish league.
Oh, he was in Spanish
Sevilla,
league.
yeah.
Okay.
But he didn't play. He only played 9 games. Yeah, it's true because he was in West Ham before that. That's what.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. He was in England as well.
But yeah, Manchester United, 103 games, 37 goals. I think his best goal per game ratio is in Bayern, Leverkusen in Germany. 15 games, 28 goals, and that's when he proved himself. That's when West Ham wanted to bite on him and come back to the Prem, but he didn't work out. He only had 16 goals in 55 games, so he had almost half. So he has 0 goals for them in 2 games, but he's a guy who could be a threat for sure. He's one of the best in the league.
Yeah, of course. Chicharito, a very forgotten name because he's newly acquired.
And if he's playing LA FC, he's going to be battle of the Mexicans, and he's going to prove that he's a better Mexican than Vela. You know.
Obviously, like the Mexicans in this league are fantastic players. They're one of their most exciting players probably in the league.
The odds of the MLS ranking this is even more. The battle of LA, they want that in the first round. You know.
Well, I think that's going to be the first game of the
MLS.
Of their group.
The reason why I think the MLS probably rig this, like obviously there's no proof, but let's say they did, is because you want big matchups in the beginning, so you have people who stay and watch the whole tournament, you know? Because you have Montreal and Toronto, one of the biggest rivalries in the league. You have LA and LA. You have. I'm surprised it would have been too much of a rig if it was both New York teams, but they still have a chance to play each other.
And they're trying to create something with the Battle of Florida, Orlando City and Inter Milan. Like they're trying to like add some.
But they haven't. I don't think
if
they played each other. If they did, I don't know. But like I said, the games before this tournament was
they are playing each other. By the way,
no. I'm not saying they're not playing each other. Before this tournament, have they played each other? I don't think so. They only had 2 or 3 games max, so I doubt they played each other.
Well, everyone's gonna be playing at their best, I think. I mean, or at least attempting to in this tournament, because it's once 3 games are done, it's either pack your bags and go back home, or you're in it to win it, and you're continuing as far as you can go.
Let's do the first round of 16 in the East.
The round of 16. Yeah. Okay, so we have. So the way I based it is because I highly doubt they're gonna go the World Cup way, where
I think they're gonna do seeding.
So
the top teams that get the most points, I think they're gonna play the team that just squeaked in by record, like the 3rd place team. You know what I'm saying? That's the only way they can do it. That's fair.
Well, the way I put it is that like the 2 top teams in Group A, B, C, D, E, F are gonna like face each other.
No,
and the winners of Group A and B face each other. They won't do that.
Personally, I think the way
that kind of fucks up my bracket.
You can change it up. I think they're gonna have to do, because since there's 26 teams and there's 16, so basically 10 teams are not making it. So there's some groups are gonna, like you said, they're gonna have 3 teams coming up on the record. So I think they're gonna do whatever team that squeaks out with the record. They're gonna play the top teams. So, example, let's say from Group A, I had Miami and New York and Philadelphia coming out, 3 teams, right?
Yeah.
Wait, so how many teams?
Am
I making too many?
It's 4 out of the 6 teams. The group, that have the best record in the 3rd place seed, basically.
Okay, so for me, I have so round of 16. I'll put New York. I'll put New York with 3rd place team. Wait, I'm doing something. Maybe I'll put DC. So I'll put New York versus DC. That's a possibility.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna, even though it's
not confirmed. So you can
wrong.
Your bracket. They haven't really explained that.
Okay.
How they're gonna do the seeding.
Yeah, they haven't really like expanded past the group stage. Exactly. So I'm gonna continue with my bracket. So the way I'm basing it is the 1st and 2nd seed teams are facing each other and branching off to face the next group. So let's say the winners of Group A face the winners of Group B. So I have Chicago versus Orlando, which is 1st and 2nd place team in Group A. Chicago is the winner over Orlando. Seattle versus FC Dallas, which is Group B. I have Dallas coming out of that. Toronto versus Montreal. This is not biased. I just think in this game, I think Montreal might be parking the bus a little bit if they get a goal, or playing very defensive and really trying to diminish Toronto's attack. So I think somehow they're going to squeak through that. So I still have Montreal over Toronto. Sporting Kansas City versus Real Salt Lake. I have Sporting Kansas City. Atlanta versus New York Red Bulls. I have Atlanta. LAFC versus LA Galaxy. LAFC. So that's.
So then you have to put 4 more teams in there.
Yeah. So for my 4 teams that make it out of the 6th group, I have Philadelphia Union at 1st place. The reason why I have them as 1st place with the best record is because their group is very weak.
They have a lot.
It's very weak.
It's a very mediocre team. There's no standalone team that for sure going to win it. You know.
Portland Timbers, I have them on number 2 because they tied with LA Galaxy's record.
Who?
So the way I based it is that 1st faces 4th and 2nd faces 3rd. So Philadelphia Union is going to face Columbus Crew, and Portland Timbers are going to face DC United.
Okay, so who do you have winning out of those 2 groups?
So Philly versus Columbus. I have Columbus. because I think Philly's time of getting lucky against easy teams is gonna diminish, and Columbus is a better rounded team. Then Portland versus DC, hands down Portland.
Yeah, for sure.
So
It's close, but yeah.
you don't agree with that?
Well, it's your bracket, so mine's gonna be different. But if I had to do those two teams, I don't know. Portland has more chemistry. DC doesn't. Honestly, it's a toss-up. It doesn't matter. So whatever you pick, I'll pick.
Okay, so I have Chicago versus Dallas in the quarterfinals. Now we're starting with the quarterfinals. So we have Dallas winning
versus who? Seattle. Okay.
Chicago.
Well, yes, Chicago. Okay, well, continue.
Yeah, because it's basically the winners of Group A and B are facing each other.
Okay, go.
That's the way I put it. Montreal versus Real Salt Lake. So I have the winners of Group C versus Group D. Salt Lake. I think Montreal's time is gonna come to an end.
Versus Salt Lake.
Salt Lake.
Okay,
yeah.
that's your opinion. Continue.
But come on, I want to hear your opinion.
This is not my bracket.
Why do you
say
think
your bracket? I'm gonna say mine, and you could.
Okay.
Personally, I think Montreal's better team than Real Salt Lake, but you could continue.
Atlanta versus LAFC. This game, like it was stated in the rules, if a game is tied, it goes directly to penalty shootouts. So in this, I have Atlanta winning in penalty shootouts versus LAFC.
Okay. And then what do you? So then you're going to the West now, no?
Yeah. Sorry, my bad. I meant LAFC comes out against Atlanta and Pens because the LAFC has firepower. They have the best dynamic duo. I just don't think Atlanta is gonna win.
Martinez, I don't think he's there.
But that's the problem, and that's why I put.
Right now, he was out for the whole season, and the season would be,
not even the whole season
would be I think just at halfway right now. So,
like Atlanta have a very very good team, very structured team, but the problem with them is that Martinez is their best player. He was the best player with the best amount of goals.
Yeah, he's not there. You have to,
and he's not there.
Huge blow for them.
He put Atlanta on the map. He propelled them to win their first championship as well.
Sure. Okay, so that.
And was it the first year or second year they won?
The second year, I think, or third year. But the first year they won far too. No, they win like mid playoffs, so not too far, but like decent for a first year.
Yeah, and then Columbus versus Portland. Portland overtaking Columbus semifinals. So as you can tell, all the Eastern teams are eliminated by now. I have Dallas versus Real Salt Lake, so I have Real Salt Lake winning, and LAFC versus Portland, and LAFC wins. I have LAFC versus Real Salt Lake as the finals, and LAFC demolishes them. To be honest,
I doubt Real Salt Lake will make it that far, but the MLS would hate a final like that. Like I said,
I just feel that
two West teams in the final just because of the thing. But yeah, I don't think it's gonna. I don't think Real Salt Lake's gonna make that far. That's my takeaways from your bracket. You have a lot of. You don't have any upsets. You have the best team winning all the time. But okay.
Well, not really, because the problem why going back to Montreal versus Real Salt Lake, the reason why I have them winning is because I feel Montreal is a very inconsistent team, and I feel like during that time, I don't think they're gonna I might be wrong about this, but I don't think they're gonna be able to establish enough chemistry or their image of what they're trying to build under Thierry Henry right now.
The Impact had the most time for this season with CONCACAF. With a few other teams from the U.S., they've had the most time playing each other. They had 3 games in CONCACAF, and they had 2 or 3 games in the MLS. So I think you could take advantage from that. But at the end of the day, it's momentum. So for me, round of 16 in the East, I have New York playing. I have New York playing Columbus because I think they're gonna do the seeding like I said, Group A. Let's say they have a team that's 3-0. They're gonna the team that just squeaked in with the with the third place like squeaking thing. I think they're gonna be the ones who get picked for that. So I have New York and Columbus playing, and then I say for the winner of that, I have it's gonna be a tough one, but it'll probably be Columbus. And then after that, I have Toronto, Montreal. I think Toronto wins. Then I have Atlanta and the New York Red Bulls. I have Atlanta. And then I have Miami versus a possible West team. So I put maybe Portland, and I think Portland will win. So we have winners will be Columbus, Toronto, Atlanta, and then we have Portland. Those are the four, I have the four teams in the round of 16 going through. So I'm gonna do East, and then I'll do West. Okay. So
Okay,
then
sounds good.
you have Columbus versus Toronto. I'll have Toronto going and winning that just because they have better depth, they have more chemistry, and the only new player that came in that has to adapt is the guy Piatti guy. So if he's not doing good, then it's not a big deal because they have players who are big enough to go through. And then I have Atlanta. You have Atlanta and Portland. I'm thinking Portland just because they have all the players and Atlanta doesn't. Atlanta's best players aren't there. And then it'll be Portland versus Toronto, and I think Toronto's gonna go to the finals. Just like I said before, they have one of the best teams in the league, and the owner consistently puts the money into the team. So I have them going to the finals, and then we'll go to the West.
Again?
I have Seattle versus Dallas, and I think Seattle is the superior team by far. And in the third place team, I have there going is going to be Vancouver. So I think Vancouver is going to play LAFC. So it'll be Vancouver versus LAFC, and I think LAFC is going to make it through. Then we have Minnesota versus Sporting Kansas City. I have Minnesota going through. Then I have LAFC. What did I say LAFC already?
Yeah, against Vancouver Whitecaps.
Okay. Then I have LA Galaxy versus another third place team, which is you're gonna have to go back to the East for that, I think, right? Yeah. So then I'm gonna have Philadelphia. So the LA versus Philadelphia. I think LA is gonna win. Then we have Seattle versus what do you call that? Minnesota. I think Seattle's gonna make it for sure. And then we have LA versus LA, right? Yeah. I think LAFC is gonna win. So it'll be Seattle LAFC in the finals. And I think there's gonna be upset, and I think LAFC is gonna lose, and it'll be Seattle going to the finals versus Toronto. A rematch of back-to-back years of a couple years ago, or was it last year?
Wasn't it Portland that won last year? No, it was Seattle.
MLS.
Seattle won.
Let's check. I think it's going to be a rematch of Toronto and Minnesota. I think that's my bracket. I have Toronto, and then I think I think Seattle's going to win.
So basically, it's like the fourth time I think they're facing each other
last year was
in a final. Last 6 years.
Last year was Seattle versus Toronto, and then in 2017 it was Seattle versus Toronto. So Toronto and Seattle both won opposite years. So I'm gonna take Seattle, but it's gonna be a close one. It's gonna be a good final.
Wait, but this is the third or fourth time they're facing each other in the finals?
If this happens, it'll be the third time they face each other in the final. Out of the 4 last years. It'll be like the Cavaliers and the Golden State Warriors.
Yeah, but the problem with that is that with this tournament, I think it enables a new champion. And for me, like I was saying before, I think LAFC is going to win it, and the most valuable player is going to be Diego Rossi for this tournament. Like I said, Carlos Vela, fantastic player, part of the best dynamic duo in the league at this moment. I just think Diego Rossi is going to propel as a more complete player, helping LAFC win this championship this
It's
year.
a good,
The
it's
first
a good
championship.
assumption. But like I said, this tournament is a toss-up. We could have a very shitty final or a decent final, and I don't think it's going to go too shitty because I don't think the lower end teams are going to make it this far in the tournament like this, where all the pressure's on one game. And I have my upset is LAFC. I think Seattle. I don't think Seattle's a better team, but I think in a tournament game, when a winner takes all, I think there's a possibility that Seattle could go through.
And don't forget, we also have Laurent Simon.
He's not the
playing
player
with
he was in
Toronto.
Montreal. So I don't think Simon is a threat to anybody anymore. He was the best player, one of the best defensemen. He won defenseman of the year a few years back, but he's not the player he is anymore. After he came back from Belgium, he lost his touch, I think. But I would.
Even, well, so you're saying he was good
I
at
still
LAFC
think
then?
he would be a good fit back in Montreal, but I don't think he. But I would love.
I think he's probably upset at us because of what happened with our last coach. He's the reason why they got rid of him.
Remy Gard wanted to change team, and one reason why Remy Gard failed as a coach in Montreal is because he tried too many changes so quick that it caught up to him, and that's why he got fired. And one of them is getting rid of Simon, because I think Simon is still playing with the Impact today.
I mean, even though we have Raitala and he's a captain, we got Edwards who, yeah, everyone on the Montreal Impact roster will be back. And sorry for the listeners that are listening to this. We're not trying to make it a Montreal Impact podcast. It's that we're very familiar with them because we're based in Montreal. So we just have more to say considering our own team. But yeah, so as you guys listened, we had two different scenarios of how it's going to continue past the group stage. It might go my way, it might be his way. We don't know what's going to happen yet. We haven't even got there. We have to wait all the way till July 8th for the actual group stage to start. But I just wanted to take the time to thank Jason Alper for coming on my podcast today. Not only that, I apologize for the background stuff with the fucking guy cutting his grass and the kids playing around. I just wanted to base it outdoors today. Sometimes we try new things and this doesn't work out. So I'll make sure next episode I won't do it outside. And don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to watch the rest of my videos that I posted. And thank you so much, Jason, once again. Have a nice day, everyone.